Yes, so no slides on this one, but Steve, welcome. We're glad you could make it, and you have the floor.
Thanks, Walt, and thank you, Walt and Dennis, for the opportunity to talk and be part of this initiative that Western Growers is launching. I think it's absolutely critical, particularly from startup companies and early stage companies like ourselves to be able to have those centralised places of collaboration. It's very key to be able to solve some of these really complex problems and being able to link and have that support, but also, you know, the vision to start to develop some of the tools that can help companies like ourselves sort of accelerate at pace. I'll just give a quick bit of background on RPL, and then I sort of just thought I'd like to talk about some of the models and the experiences we've been having in terms of getting the, you know, having success of getting the technologies into the field, because I think there's a lot of areas of collaboration and different ways to approach how we can actually fast track some of these solutions to our broader problems. So RPL sort of was really came out of the backbone. I'm a 35 years experienced grower. I have a significant investment in pack house operations and orchard management operations in kiwi fruit and apples, proprietary fruit varieties. And really a number of years ago, I started to look at how technology is going to play a role in my supply chain going forward. And that's where really the Robotics Plus started from. And it's where I went looking and found my co-founder, Dr. Alistair Scarf. And he did a PhD project, which we supported and which really showed that we could automate kiwi fruit harvesting. And that video has been seen a lot around, and you can find it on roboticsplus.co.nz. And through that, Alistair sort of proved to me that when you've got the combination of growing supply chain, growing knowledge and that support around that and guidance around that, he was actually able to really articulate that technology and demonstrate it was possible. And from that point, we went on to really grow Robotics Plus, which was really started around 2015. In 2018, Yamaha Motorco Japan came on as an investor. We're a team of 12. We're now a team of 80. And 72% of those 80 people are really experts in their field. And we've developed a very multidisciplinary team across a number of areas, from mechatronics, mechanical, electrical, software control systems, AI, machine learning, data and vision systems. And it's really the need to bring all those disciplines together to really solve these complex problems. And I know a lot of early stage companies really struggle with smaller teams and not having all those disciplines to be able to bring it together to really make these actions work. We've commercialised a couple of products. Our first commercialised product, which we are exporting into the US, Australia, and into Europe, was our robotic apple packing solution. That's a combination of machine learning, robotics, automation, and sophisticated vision system where we can stem and calyx orientate an apple. We can place it in a tray or a package at whatever angle you want to pack it with the best colour side apple up. And our whole focus across our robotics solutions is that avoided cost of labour. So this thing had to make sense from an apple pack house point of view, that this machine was replacing 1.5 to 2 people, and that ROI had to be right. We've just recently launched our new double packer, which is heading into, which is actually the first ones have just arrived in the US now. And that's now giving us speed capability of 300 fruit a minute across a double lane configuration, stem and calyx orientating with best colour side up. And in April, we'll be launching that apple packing technology to be doing stone fruit as well. So this technology goes across apples, then we move on to stone fruit, then we can move into avocado. So the technology is very agnostic about crop. It just needs small alterations about maybe how the in-feed feeds into the machine to do that. So what we've focused on here is really the core modular technology that allows us to develop on one crop, but then very quickly quickly make changes to deal with other crops. So we can create a level of scale and sensibility in using the same core modules of technology, which becomes a lot more efficient and cost effective. Our second technology that's commercial is robotic log scaling, which is a bit interesting. People say, what are you doing log scaling for? But in New Zealand, forestry is actually part of our sort of primary sector, so we consider it in our ag tech portfolio. That was a really great model where we actually had a customer with a real pain point. They came to us and said, we've got people climbing over trucks doing measurements of logs to look at what the millable timber is for the Japanese agricultural standard measurement. And so they funded that R&D of that project up front. We agreed on the terms that they fund the R&D, but then we retain the IP and the commercialization aspect. We agreed what those terms were. And we also had a conversation about, by removing your labor, we're actually your new labor, and how would you consider a sort of royalty type model around, we'll build you the machines, we'll agree on a manufacturing margin, but then we get a royalty for every ton of logs we scan. And they agreed to that. We delivered that prototype into their shed within 12 months. Within 16 months, we're deploying commercial machines. We're now just over 50% of all logs exported out in New Zealand run through our technology. And that's a really nice model for us because we're really engaged with the customer. We're reinvesting back into the next piece of technology we're developing, which is taking a fixed robotic scaling solution to a mobile robotic scaling solution. And we're now looking at that technology being deployed into Asia and the likes of China. The big win on that model was really that coming together, really defining the problem, both parties having skin in the game and really determining and agreeing to what the output is going to be at the other end and how we're both going to have a win-win from a return on investment perspective. And, that relationship's very, very strong, and we have a technology roadmap now that we're just rolling out one product at a time. And it's allowed us to concentrate and focus a very core development team to continue to do that. The third area that we're really focused on is unmanned ground vehicles. You can see the one in behind me there, which is an autonomous mowing solution targeted into the likes of turf farms and parks and reserves. We as Robotics Plus, we really adopt a partnership model. So we have the autonomous platform. There's a need for automating mowing. So we look to partner with one of the best mowing companies in the world that already have 50% of the mowing market in a particular field, and it's adopting their mowing technology onto our autonomous platform. What that allows us to do is these people have the sales and service teams in the field. They have the mowing technology and the grower relationships. We just really provide the automating it and making it simple. So again, we like to look at everything we do is really looking at finding end users and partnerships that really enable this action to happen. We're also doing projects with Yamaha USA around an autonomous vineyard sprayer. Again, we built a fully autonomous vineyard sprayer in 9 months from zero design to actually trialing in market. And I think that leads me into, the opportunity in New Zealand. We're counter-seasonal. We were developing the unmanned vineyard sprayer for Yamaha when COVID hit, and rather than actually shipping the machine up to test in Napa Valley, the COVID restrictions of our team and being able to come together, the opportunity was we were able just to take that technology and test it in vineyards in New Zealand and be able to video and do a lot of work and perfect the technology, and now we'll be shipping that up to the US in September. So again, that counter-seasonal opportunity around New Zealand and that being able to test it at 2 different seasons. So we're testing it here through the summer and to harvest, and then we do fine-tune adjustments, and then we can ship it to the US ready for the US start of the season post-winter. And my last sort of area that I think is really important is the way Robotics Plus has approached its model and growing a team of 80 and actually getting a number of solutions out into the industry is really been around the co-funding model. It's been finding people that are actually really do have the pain point, and they're paying some of the R&D money, we're putting in money, and then we have a unique ecosystem in New Zealand where we can really leverage a lot of support from government, from whether it's Callaghan, who's going to talk shortly, or New Zealand Trade and Enterprise. And there's a number of large government science research funds that happen here. So we're able to leverage these partnerships really, really well. As long as there's a seen benefit back to New Zealand, which could be creating tech and export market, or actually helping solve some of the New Zealand growing systems, but then looking globally to actually create the scale to make it sensible. So a good example of that at the moment it would be the asparagus industry, which we know has a real challenge globally. And it's no different in New Zealand. New Zealand faces the same labour challenges as the US, as Australia, as the Europe. So we have those same challenges. So we've had we funded some work with the university to look at some concepts around harvesting asparagus. It actually came up to Salinas in 2019 and did a bit of trial work on an asparagus farm in Las Banos, and then we brought it back to New Zealand. We've taken that alliteration on a bit further, but that work we did with the university had given asparagus growers some confidence in New Zealand to look to move forward with that technology. The government has now come forward and said, well, we're prepared to fund 40% of the development of a fully commercial asparagus harvester. I had the discussion with them around the fact that there's not a lot of scale in New Zealand. So for a company like us to target a New Zealand market, which might sell 50 machines, makes no sense from a scalability point of view. So we've been talking with the government about actually what if we went out and made this a global play, and we got asparagus growers from different countries around the world, with the same problem, and would the government still put 40% funding into the project if it had co-funding from both New Zealand and international growers? And they're very open to that model. So we're now actually working through that process. So what we're really starting to do is say, let's bring the global asparagus growers together. Let's talk about systemizing what is the growing system, agreeing on what is the platform actually got to perform. So this technology can be applied to everyone globally, as opposed to having 10 different variants, because everyone wants to grow things differently and do things differently. And so that's got really great traction. And so when you look at that, it's a $5 million New Zealand, 5 million NZD project. The government is funding 40% of that. Robotics Plus puts in $1 million, and we're actually only asking for $2 million from New Zealand growers and global growers to actually come together and have a 4-year collaboration to commercialise asparagus harvesting. So these models are working better and better, and it's also enabling us to put project teams across, but then also to translate the technologies across the different disciplines that we have, or the different projects we're doing, to really solve these problems a lot faster. So I just really wanted to sort of share some of the experience of how, from a sort of 2015 to now, we've grown a team to 80. We've got multiple projects, real customer engagement, commercial products going to market. And it's just really thinking about how do we do this more collaboratively and collectively? How do we think smarter from a global perspective? New Zealand grows most crops that grow in America. So there's this counter-seasonal opportunity, this collaborative opportunity. And there's government and other funding that can be attracted around these plays, and that's why we're very happy and very supportive of the Western Growers Initiative. We think it's that collaborative thinking and how you bring things together that's going to get us there a lot faster and a lot quicker. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's great, Steve. Thank you. That's a lot of great technology. And it's almost as if you were eavesdropping on our panel earlier, which I know you weren't. Neil Callis and others would certainly love a conversation about that asparagus machine. So.